prefabricated structures. Previously, we have discussed about the fourth unit, types of joints and connections, in our previous lecture. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the fifth unit topics, and the heading is design of abnormal loads. So, what is abnormal loads? The loads which are acting on the structure, which are not normal loads, right? Which are not normal loads, that are said to be an abnormal loads. So in this we are going to cover up with progressive collapse and what are the codal provisions which are given for avoiding the progressive collapse, and equivalent design loads for abnormal effects like earthquakes, cyclones, and importance for avoiding the progressive collapse. So these are the things which are discussed in the unit 5, and outcome which is comes from the fifth unit. After finishing that, you will know about the components, and in an industrial building you will gain some knowledge about that. And this introduction part, we are going to discuss that if the structure at normal condition, we get some normal loads, and it will be distributed to the structural members, and it is a routine process, right? But if any accidental loads are acting on the building, then it make the building to get collapsed, right? Because it is designed for normal loads, not for abnormal loads. Abnormal loads occur at rare situations. For example, you can take earthquake, bomb blast, and gas explosion, like that, right? So these are some of the rare example for accidental loads. So these act like an abnormal loads, so it result into an progressive collapse. So it can be avoided, okay? It can be avoided with the proper designing and proper construction works. So we are discussing here in the perspective of prefabricated structure, not normal constructions, right? In prefabricated structures, because we have more number of joints, because the components are going to be jointed and the joint conditions are weak. So we need to go according to that. It should be totally resistant member, right? So that only make the building to get or avoid from the progressive collapse. And then it is a definition for progressive collapse. So it is the collapse of all or major part of the structure precipitated by or due to local damage or local failure of the relatively small part of the structure, and it is often called as disproportionate failure. So this is the definition for progressive collapse. I have said that when the abnormal load is acting on the building, and it result into the collapse of the building, so that is said to be in progressive collapse. It is occurred due to several factors, so that has been listed in the right hand side flow chart. So you can see that accidental impact, faulty construction, foundation failure, and change in air pressure. These are some of the factors which leads to progressive collapse, right? So accidental impacts, for this you can take examples, so many examples like earthquake load, and bomb blast, and gas explosions, etc. So these act on the building in sudden time, right? In a sudden time, in a sudden way. So that result into an accidental impact. By that the building can get collapsed, right? So this is also a major part in progressive collapse. And faulty construction, these are some of the activities which are carried in the site which are not in a proper manner, so that result into an collapse of the building. So that is also a major factor. And then foundation failure, so the foundation is the main part of the building, so because it carries the load from the column. If foundation fails, then the column completely fails. Then it also result to an collapse of the building. And then change in air pressure. So we need to calculate the air pressure according to the height of the building. If it is not properly, the nodes are being not properly placed with the air pressure, then it also leads to an collapse. So these are the factors which are leads to the progressive collapse. So these are discussed in the chapter which will be coming in the upcoming slide. So here you can see Ronan Point and Murrah Building, Oklahoma. So these are some of the example for accidental impacts. and then what are the codes and standards which are given for the result of progressive collapse. Before going to the codes, we need to speak about the previous slide, that is Oklahoma and Ronan Point. So Ronan Point building is the failure is resulted because of gas explosion. So gas explosion is a sudden accidental impact. It resulted to an collapse of the entire structure. You can view it on previous slide. And then the Oklahoma, it is occurred due to the bomb blast. So when the one column is failure, so the load which is coming from that which are going to be obtained from that column, it is also need to transfer to some other places, or else it leads to the failure of the building. So that is happened in the second one. And then the codes and standards. So you can see here ASCE. ASCE stands for American Society of Civil Engineers. So in this code, they have mentioned about abnormal loads, how we can make the building more sustained from disproportionate collapse. Normally, the building is designed for normal conditions and normal loads which are acting on the building. So it should be accompanied by providing sufficient continuity, redundancy, or energy dissipating capacity, that is ductility, or a combination of both the things, and it should be done in every member, so that only prevents the building from collapse. So this is said in the ASCE 702, and the main point which is discussed in this standard, codal standard, is that redundancy and alternate load paths. So that is the main thing for avoiding disproportionate collapse. And then we are moving on to ACI 31802. So American Concrete Institute. So, this stands for ACI. The thing which is given in this standard is requirement of structural integrity. Normally in our previous constructional activities, for example, you can take the hook for every reinforcement for holding the column reinforcement. So this is provided for resisting the earthquake loads. So same way, when you are going for reinforcement, column beam to beam connection or column to column connection, anything, we need to properly connect. That is, it should be properly tied. Then only it improves the integrity of the structure. By that, the total structural integrity will be improved. So that is mentioned in the ACI. And then in GSA, that is stands for Geological Society of America, and in this standard, they have said that failure of beam column slabs, it should not result in failure, right? This failure of structure system should be below or above and adjacent base. So that is mentioned in the GSA standards. And then GSA progressive collapse guideline. In this, they are mentioned, if you are going to remove any one of the column, it should go for alternate load. The load should be gone for another column or any members without collapsing the structure. So that should be maintained. If sudden accidental loads or anything is happening and the column is resulted into a failure, then the load should be move on to the further structural members. So by that only you can prevent the building from progressive collapse. So that is mentioned in the final one. So we have discussed previously about the codal things. Now we are going to discuss about the design part. So here we are going to deal it with abnormal effects like earthquakes and cyclones. So for earthquake, it is a wave, right? It is a seismic wave that is mentioned as a fault wave, which is generated at earth surface, and that produce the disastrous effect, and it also leads to a structural collapse. So you know what is earthquake loads. It is a seismic wave which is happening on the ground surface. It leads to an earthquake, and due to the structural motions, surface motions, the structural gets collapsed. So you need to plan in the design point that it should resist the future earthquakes, because earthquake is not happening normally in every condition. You can choose take example like Japan. The most earthquakes is happening on Japan, so they are planning according to that. But other than that places, the earthquake chances are very less, so they are not planning for the earthquake. But you need to resist that, the structural members should resist that, so you need to plan according to the future earthquakes. So that is should be considered in the design point of view. And then wind load. So normally cyclones, heavy or severe cyclones result in a high wind pressure which is act on the building. So this is an horizontal motion of air, right? And it is produced by difference in atmospheric pressure. Normally, based upon the height of building, the wind pressure also varies from minimum to maximum. So this is given in the wind load, and there is also a separate codes for designing the structure for wind loads. So it should be properly followed. Then only it result into an good one, which is comes out from the progressive collapse. And then we are going to discuss about the collapse pattern. In this we are going to discuss the earthquake collapse pattern first. We are going to discuss with the three major things, and first one is earthquake collapse pattern. So generally the seismic design force are very high to resist within the elastic range of material response, because if the building or member are very thicker, then it result to an failure of that member. If it is very thinner, then it can be a deformable or any ductile material, and by that the elastic deformation, and which result into an prevention of collapse. So that is mentioned in the earthquake collapse pattern. And redundancy and ductile behavior, so it is only the one which prevent or reduce the extent of collapse. So this is mentioned in the earthquake collapse pattern. And then in the second one is design alternatives for reducing progressive collapse. So we need to improve the resistance, by that only progressive collapse can be reduced. And we need to provide alternate load path. Previously I have mentioned that if one column is failure, then the load should be distributed into the another columns. It should not get failured, so it should be a sustainable one. So that is mentioned as an alternate load path. And provide sufficient strength to resist failure. We need to give sufficient strength to the member to resist the failure. And then guidelines for achieving structural integrity. So we know what is meant by structural integrity, we have previously discussed. And here they have mentioned it should the structure should be ductile, and it should be a large deformation capacity, and it should absorb energy also. And these things should be done in the connection. So these connections are very good, and this prevent from the progressive collapse. And then we need to we need to plan in a proper way. So the layout also should be in a good manner. If it is also not properly planned, then it also result in a failure. And then integrated system of ties. So we have discussed this ties in previous in codal provisions also. So here also they are saying it should be properly integrated. And then written on walls. This is load distribution. And then we need to know why we are giving so much importance to progressive collapse. So it leads to an severe loss of structure. The structure may fully or partially get collapsed. So that also the major impact of sudden collapse. And then death or injuries. So this is also an important one. And heavy loss of cost. The total, that Gujarat earthquake. So it leads to an total failure of infrastructure, and we need to rebuild that. So we need to put some more cost for that. So that is mentioned here as a heavy loss of cost, and it severely affect the nearby structure. You can see most of the cities are concrete jungles, and each building are being connected. So if one building is failed, it also lead to collapse of other building. So that is mentioned here because both the things are being connected. And here in this point we are discussing about how it can be minimized. So these points are discussed previously also: the redundancy, resistance, and structural integrity, ductility, adequate shear strength. These are discussed previously, but we are going to see on in depth about redundancy, resistance, integrity, ductility. So the first one is redundancy or alternate load path. So in that approach, structure should be designed in a manner of only the component, the particular component should be failed, and the load should be distributed to the alternate paths. So the design aspect should be like that, right? Then only it can result from non-happening of collapse. And the second one is it is a common method designed for redundancy. It requires the building structure able to tolerate loss of any one column without collapse. If the one column is suddenly failed, then result of other column should be properly withstand for the load without any collapse. So that is mentioned in the second point. And further, the redundancy requirements may have the unfortunate consequence of encouraging design with many small and vulnerable columns rather than fewer larger columns. Instead of going for larger columns, you can place more small columns. That is mentioned for a design approach. And then for safety against deliberate attacks, that is some accidental impacts, this may step into wrong direction. So these are mentioned in the redundancy. And move on to the next one is local resistance. So local resistance is nothing but we need to prevent the building, that is we need to resist the abnormal loads. The structural members should resist the abnormal loads from disproportionate collapse. So we need to plan every components in a critical manner that it should subject and it should provide an additional resistance to those such accidental or any other attacks. So this is mentioned in the local resistance. And then interconnection or continuity. So interconnection or continuity is nothing but structural integrity. So the structure should be properly maintained and properly should be tied upon. Then only it result in a manner of resisting thing. So that is mentioned in the third one. So there are many studies of many recent building collapses, so that only made them to get avoided or at least to reduce in a scale at a fare of small additional cost if structural components had been interconnected more effectively. They are mentioning that they have gone for many studies, and that studies in that review they have found out that if it is properly the structure is connected, then the result of failure is low. So that is being observed. So that is mentioned in the third one. And the fourth one is others, that is ductility and shear strength, like that. So ductile members, the design of prefabricated components or normal construction should be in a ductile manner. Then only it result from disproportionate collapse, right? So if you are properly planned in a manner of ductile members, then you can withstand for the abnormal loads. So this is for ductile. And shear strength, so we need to plan the shear strength also. According to that only we need to go for design. So we need to choose the beam column connections in an important manner, because the beam column connection is the main part where we have twisting force and so many things which are happening, and the large number of shear force is acting on that place. So the proper connection should be followed on that, and the proper sealant should be done. Then only it can result for avoiding the collapse. So these are the things which are used for minimizing the result of a progressive collapse. By that your fifth unit is getting over, and by that prefabricated entire thing has been done. So in this lectures, I have just given you about the hints, like a revising part, but not in-depth one. So if you need any in-depth concepts and you need to go according to that, then you can surf it on net. So thank you. Do well in your exam.